Know this. Introducing the original Blood Clot podcast, not players. Soothing semantic. Special dedication. All the way from New York. Boom. Yeah, man. SWOT semantic. Yeah, me know. Boom. Soothing semantic. Yeah, me know. Big ups to the man. Soothing semantic.
It is time, ladies and gentlemen. Have you been looking for luxury watches for quite some time, or have contemplated doing so, but you don't really know who you can trust and where the best prices are? Look no further. Time for Luxury has got your back. Make sure to check out the site. Some of the watches they sell include Patek Philippe, Rolex, AP, Cartier, Hublot, Richard Mille, and many others as well. Make sure to check them out. You will be very, very glad you did.
Welcome to another episode of Soothing Semantics. I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky, and today we have Mr. Let Go on the podcast, aka Aaron Mallory. And I saw Aaron post a video on his social media. It just came up on my feed in regards to this rapper DaBaby and his I guess side girl, his side chick, DaniLeigh. So quite honestly, I don't have any interest in either of them. I know who they are. Well, I don't really know who DaniLeigh is, but I've seen DaBaby and heard some of his music. He's a popular guy these days. But I keep seeing this talk about him and her and in his condo, in his penthouse or whatever, about all that went on, and for whoever doesn't know, and quite frankly, I don't know how many people will care about the story itself, but hopefully the lesson will be important. But ultimately, he's a rapper, she's a singer. Seems like she became famous really from him, and supposedly they're going through some troubles. She has a kid with him, they're not married, and supposedly she got upset at him, she hit him, and he called the cops to kick her out of the place. He started calling her his side chick on camera on Instagram Live.
And Shawty is not my girl. Ain't never been my girl. Is my side bitch.
It's fucking embarrassing me like that.
Shawty is a certified side. Act like she ain't. No, let's take it there.
And she was very upset about it. She seemed to still want to stick around, I guess, because she knows maybe he's gonna take care of her. But ultimately, it was a very dysfunctional, strange, turn of events. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because you really gave some good perspective on that kind of relationship and what it means. So you have the floor, brother.
Okay, well, I appreciate you having me. So a couple of things that I've seen in this particular situation is I just on my platform, I mainly speak to women because my goal is to let women know what's actually happening in a man's mind, right? Women grow up just learning about men through women, which makes zero sense. And women don't necessarily understand men at all. So what I've said in my YouTube videos that just a blanket message to women. If you're under 30, never live with a man, because every woman on the planet under 30 is annoying. And at some point, if we have not fully committed to that woman, and we're stupid enough to have her move in with us, it's almost a guarantee that at some point we're gonna want her to leave. So with that being said, not giving a man a pass or anybody else, just to understand the dynamic that when you're young, you're just hella annoying. And what ends up happening is the dude's just gonna get tired of you. And now you're gonna feel like you're used, but you use yourself by moving in with a man without requiring marriage. So the key is to require marriage, require commitment before you have a baby, before you move in. But a lot of women love to do things backwards. So in this particular situation with DaniLeigh, from their conversation, their back and forth, she has a lot of family problems, right? And when a woman has family problems, it affects a woman a lot worse than the typical man. And you can potentially find yourself just lost out here. DaniLeigh was a singer. I think she was in a group or whatever, but a lot of artists, including DaBaby, they don't make the money that we imagine them making because, you make money off of shows. And for the last 2 years, ain't nobody really been doing shows. A few people, we have festivals, but lower end people like DaniLeigh or singers or whatever, they got writers and then they ain't doing shows. So somebody like DaniLeigh probably isn't making a lot of money. So what usually happens, a girl and a guy, they're dating or whatever, and the girl is paying $2,000, $4,000 a month for their condo or whatever. And the dude is like, well, you over here all the time. Why don't you move in with me? And thinking out of survival mode, a lot of women think out of survival mode. They look at it like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to save some money. It's not really about, oh, we're going to be together, because if you think you and a man is going to be together, y'all would already be talking about marriage. It's about survival. So she's probably like, well, if I give up my condo or give up my house or do this and that, I can save a lot of money. That's the biggest thing, saving money. Women move in with guys, not because they think the guy lied to them. They want to save some money. Next thing you know, you save some money, you get with this dude, and at some point, especially if you're under 30, he's going to say at some point, I don't want to do this no more. And you ain't got nowhere to go. And I think that's what DaniLeigh got to the point where she felt the need to fight the man. And that's the reason why he actually got on live. Whether it's right or wrong, he was doing it to protect himself. But yeah, I can see her being a side chick and living with DaBaby, because overall dudes don't really care. We just want something to wake up to be honest with you. We just want to wake up, we erect and we got a chick next to us. We don't even care who she is. We look over, we see those covers, you got her hips, laying on the side. I call it the cover mountain. You got white covers, you wake up, you look over, and then she's laying on the side, you got a little mountain of the little hips, and then they go down from the waist to the hips. You're like, wow. And sometimes the dude waking up, your memory ain't really right. Sometimes you don't even know who it is. You just, yes, I got somebody in my bed. But women actually think it's something when you live with a man, or it doesn't make a difference to us. So that's what I see.
There's so much to unpack, man. We definitely shouldn't. I'm a very big believer in this philosophy. It's interesting that you gave the 30-year kind of cutoff, because I think it really depends on the person. I don't know. I mean, there are probably 35-year-old women that are annoying, and some 25-year-old women that I can definitely.
There's no 25-year-old woman that's not annoying.
I mean, honestly, man, in general, I enjoy the company of men more. It's just a fact. I'm a dude through and through. I like to do dude things. I like to just hang out with guys more often. But
I'm totally opposite. I love hanging around a woman. So I can't hang around dudes all the time, because it's just the testosterone. I don't want to be around all that. I want to be around something soft. I want a light voice in my ear. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that makes that interesting. So do you think you have a lot of girlfriends, like women that are friends?
Yeah. I got a podcast partner. I got assistants that are women. Like I got, we don't hang out or whatever, but usually when I go out to eat, I go out with my male friends, but a lot of them are married. So it's like, it's always women around, or a woman around, or a woman with me. So yeah, it's just who I am. I got daughters. So I'm just used to women being around me.
I hear you. Yeah. I mean, I definitely appreciate the deep discussion, but in terms of like day-to-day hanging out, yeah, definitely prefer to hang out with guys, no question. So yeah, I hear that. Now, in terms of their whole relationship, I mean, definitely seems like she was doing it as a survival instinct, if you will.
Yes.
So in terms of this whole moving in, moving out, I personally wouldn't live with a woman until I was married. At the same time, I do understand the argument of, well, before you're married, it might be a good idea to live with that person so you can get an idea of what it would be like. I just feel like without commitment, it's very easy to just have every excuse to tell them to
Not
go.
commit.
There isn't, once you've decided to marry the person, that's it. You've agreed to spend the rest of your life with that person, hopefully.
Mhm.
So there's just a different attitude going into it. So that's my feeling.
It's the attitude, and that's the thing.
Right.
I don't really believe, like, I don't know. I just think when you're over 30, requiring to live with somebody before y'all get married doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, if I want to marry a woman, like, I've spent a year with her or whatever, what is she doing inside my house versus outside my house that's going to make me not want to be with her no more?
Well, you think 30, why is 30 the number for you?
Well, there's a side of men and there's a side of women that changes. You know, as a man, you begin to potentially find your purpose or start moving in the direction of your purpose in your 30s. You're more of a man.
You don't think that's pretty late?
versus-
30s? I'm saying, like, to start working on your purpose at 30?
The typical man doesn't find his purpose until after 30. When you're 20, you don't know what the hell you're doing. College isn't purpose. College is something you do. And, you know, most people who go to college, they don't do what they went to college for. They might use their
100%.
degree to do something, but it's not what they actually decided to do in the beginning.
Sure. Without a doubt. It's just a rite of passage.
And all that. Right. And then you make mistakes and you do this, you don't like this, you don't like that. So by the time you're like 32 to 36, you kind of like know what you want to do now. But
well, you hope because a lot of men never figure it out, but you hope
agree.
at that point.
Yeah.
Well,
So, well, I didn't find my purpose until I was 40. You know, I had a job and all this other stuff, but the whole Mr. Let Go stuff, it wasn't there, you know? So, it wasn't, I didn't even see it in me because I was so, to be honest with you, I was just so out here with women and doing this and doing that. So I wasn't really thinking about purpose because I had a good job. I just did this and that. But at the end of the day, women are actually the ones that brought the purpose out of me that was already there. So when a man is under 30, he doesn't know his purpose and his possibility of changing his mind is huge. But when we get married, most of us men, we don't leave the woman. We just build around the woman, you know? Does that make sense?
Not exactly. What do you mean by you said we don't leave? What did you first say? I didn't understand.
Most men don't leave marriages. The divorce rate is 70% women.
Yeah. That I know. Women primarily are the ones to initiate divorce. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this comes from, you know, going back to the DaniLeigh situation, women romanticize marriage or romanticize babies and all this mess. And they don't know what comes with being married. A lot of women feel like, oh, they're controlled. Like, oh my God, he's controlling me simply because he's leading her, you know, because women, like I said, women grow up talking to women and women don't have a lot of sense when it comes to men. I don't care if you went to college, you're a scientist, you're an astronaut, you still ain't got no sense when it comes to men, you know, because women don't take the time to learn about the opposite sex like men take the time to learn about the opposite sex.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of complexities here. Women are more complex than we are. There's a lot more intricacies. They have a lot more that they need in order for it to make sense. Well, in a relatively intelligent woman. Some women, just like some men, will date anything they see. They don't really have options, and they just go for the next person who's willing to look them in the eyes.
Yeah.
But generally, women, due to hypergamy, are more selective, and it's in their nature. They need to have a larger checkbox, a larger list of checks in order for them to say, okay, this is somebody I can really get into a long-term relationship with. Men, on the other hand, we tend to be, we'll be more selective with looks, but in other senses, yeah, we're not necessarily as picky. I think the reality is, and forgive me for being unclassy, but for a lot of us, we want our stomach full and our balls empty. That's a large part of it.
Yeah.
I think when we cut the grass and we tell it like it is, that's really a large part of it.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I think so many men get divorced is because they're really not focused enough on self-improvement all the time. Meaning, because we live in such a small world now, and women have access to so many different men, essentially. If you're a guy who day to day is just very lax and you don't take your life seriously, you aren't going after your dreams, you aren't taking exercise seriously, you don't take care of different facets of your life, at some point, there's a likelihood that your spouse is just going to start looking at other places. It doesn't mean she won't be faithful. But I think that, I mean, if you're just not being the best version or close to the best version of yourself, she's going to notice it, and it's going to bother her. It's going to upset her. And she might not really say it to you. She probably will in so many words. But I think that's where a lot of guys go wrong. And I think, women get tired of it after a while. They're like, listen, go do shit. We need more money.
Yeah.
I'd prefer if you lost 40 pounds. It'd be nicer to get in bed with you if you did.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, she's looking at her colleague who's extremely fit, wishing her husband looked like that, but she doesn't have the nerve. She feels bad. She doesn't have the heart to tell her husband that, oh, my colleague's hot and you're not, I would love it if you lost weight. So some of these conversations are very difficult to have.
Yeah.
But that's where I think, that's what I would say for men.
And this is what's crazy. Not to add this to it, I just want to make a statement, but more white men are overweight than white women. But in the Black community, more Black women are overweight than Black men. So in the white community, I could see the woman always being fit and the dude is like out of shape, got the dad bod, just looking like crap, But in the Black community, the woman is the one that's overweight and, and she's just whatever. And the dude is in the gym. So it's kind of weird, but yeah, I could see a lot of women being like, I'm in a gym, so why aren't you? But I think that's the biggest issue with purpose. Purpose kind of like gets built around who you actually are as a person, your habits, So what happens is if you grow up working out, most likely you're going to stay working out. If you grow up not working out, you're going to stay not working out. So your purpose is kind of like built around your habits. And men and women get with the opposite sex thinking that since they are vibing or having fun, they're going to have the same habits, grow the same habits, but they're not. So if two people, like going back to DaniLeigh and DaBaby, they're not the same people. DaniLeigh has all these family issues or whatever, and she's in survival mode, and DaBaby is the biggest rapper on the planet, so it's not the same thing. Like, for example, Jay-Z and Beyonce, they had the same scope of a life. They both were the best in whoever they were. And I know she was with Destiny's Child back when they started dating, but she was the best person out of Destiny's Child back then. And her parents groomed her to be who she actually is. So the habits were there. The direction was there. The purpose is there. So now they both are somewhat the best, rapper and best singer in history to a certain degree. And that makes sense. So when a dude or a woman is so different in purpose, DaniLeigh doesn't really have a purpose. She's just one of those chicks who just can sing, but she's never going to be the best at anything. So you got the best at something, and you got one of the worst at something. Being together, it's never going to work.
That's interesting because you think that a relationship is better when both people are completely, equal in the sense of
Drive.
ambition or finance. I mean, I find
Drive,
that
not
generally,
finance, but drive. The best rapper can't get with the worst singer, or the best singer can't get with the worst rapper. It's never going to work.
you don't think just dynamically women tend to date up? I feel like,
Yes, yes.
you'll have
I
an
get that.
attorney. An attorney will marry his secretary, but a female attorney will not marry her male secretary.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you can't be one of the worst at something and get with one of the best at something, because the drive is going to change. It's not going to change. I'm sorry. The drive is not going to change. So the dude who has all the drive in the world, going back to being in the gym and being fit, at some point, the fit person is going to look at the unfit person like, yo, I don't want to do this no more. What the hell are we doing? This is stupid.
Right.
It's about drive. It's not about money. It's about drive. If you have a different set of principles when it comes to drive, and you got, because being even a woman having kids and being at home, there's a certain amount of drive for that. You ever seen a woman have postpartum depression, don't want to do nothing, kids run around tearing up the house, and the dude comes home like, yo, why the house look like this? It comes with drive, like with the cleaning. Imagine having 2 kids and they toys everywhere, and even just the floorboards. You ever seen, dude might have nasty floorboards because the dude isn't going to get on his knees and actually wipe the floorboards down. It's certain things, that a man sometimes isn't going to do that a woman would do as a homemaker. She's going to make sure the whole house is clean. And that's a drive thing. You have to have the drive to get on your knees and actually take care of the things that are closer to the floor. Get on your knees and get in the toilet or in a bathtub, and you all leaned over about to fall in the bathtub because you really hitting all those little corners and stuff. That's a drive thing. So even a woman that doesn't work can have a certain amount of drive that would make a man proud.
So Aaron, essentially what you're saying is a good woman is a woman who's driven to get on her knees.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Yeah, but it's about drive. A lot of men and women don't have drive when it comes to gym, money, maintenance or whatever of themselves or their surroundings. That's a drive thing.
So what do you think with going back to DaniLeigh and DaBaby? It's so crazy. It's so crazy, these rapper names these days, bro. It's just of all names they had to choose DaBaby, it's ridiculous to me. Anyhow, that's a separate conversation.
Yeah, that's a stupid name.
It's so dumb. It's all you could come up with. All these names nowadays. Everything's
he started out walking around with a pamper on.
Oh, it's so stupid. Anyway,
and this is another thing about drive, right? DaBaby made it because of his drive. He started off walking around with a pamper on and like, yo, I'm DaBaby. It was a gimmick. That was marketing, whether it was stupid or whether it was smart, but it was marketing. And he had people looking at him like, yo, who is this dude? Like 50 Cent. 50 Cent started his career off rapping about robbing Jay-Z and all the different big time rappers. He made a song about how he's going to rob everybody. Biggie made a song about how he's going to have sex with all of the Mary J. Blige's and the big singers back in the day and the actresses and stuff. So that is drive. Before you make it, you start thinking of like, yo, how can I think outside the box? That's the drive thing, So DaBaby started off saying, I'm DaBaby, and then walk around with a pamper on. That was drive. That was imagination. That was marketing. So that is a drive thing.
It's also just ridiculous. But I mean, hey, it worked. If it worked, it worked. But in terms of this whole thing, I mean, after what happened.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I find very interesting when people break up is if you talk to one of them, because generally if I know somebody that broke up with someone, I tend to know one of them and not both of them. It's just kind of how it is. I know the girl or I know the guy, and they'll bring up the conversation of their breakup. And as soon as I hear someone goes, oh yeah, he was toxic, or oh yeah, she was toxic, verbally abusive or whatever. Once I hear verbally or physically abusive, that's a different story. Especially physically. I mean, that's something I'm not going to take lightly. But in terms of toxic, people just throw it out there so broadly without explaining what it means.
Because nobody knows.
When people say that, it also tells me that they're taking no accountability whatsoever for their actions. So whenever I hear a story like that, I really want to hear both sides. I really want to hear what happened, what the guy has to say and what the girl has to say, and determine what really happened that's toxic, and whether one of their reactions was very understood. You get what I'm saying? So if someone says, oh yeah, well, he was mean to me, or it's like, well, maybe you're crazy. Or she was always very needy, or whatever it is. Well, maybe you're never around.
Toxic comes from chemistry. You know how people are like, oh, we can have chemistry. Well, sometimes the chemistry is actually toxic. There's no definition to toxic when it involves relationships. It's just some stupid stuff people say.
They throw it out so loosely.
But it comes from the chemistry. Oh, we have chemistry, and then the chemistry turns into toxicity. You get what I'm saying? It's the chemicals just not working with each other that makes it toxic. So it's a derivative from we have chemistry to now it's toxic, but it doesn't mean anything.
How can chemistry become toxic?
You put oil and water in the same cup together, it's not going to ever come together. It's going to be the oil sitting on top of the water.
No, well, I get that, but I'm saying in terms of an actual relationship, what's an example of? Because when I think of chemistry,
taking a Mentos, you put a Mentos in a Pepsi, it's going to blow up. So that's an example of the chemistry between two things, and when they come together, it turns into something that's toxic.
Okay, so you think fine. So you're just using chemistry. You're just using chemistry in a broad sense. When I thought you mentioned chemistry, I thought you were talking about good chemistry. Okay, so you're just talking about joining
chemistry. Period. That's what I'm saying.
Chemistry,
people
period.
just love. We have chemistry, but if you just think, let's look at it like this, because this is the problem with people using these little stupid words and stupid phrases that don't mean anything. It's a problem with that. Love yourself. There's a problem with that too, because what the hell does that mean? So when we say chemistry, we have chemistry, right? Me and a woman. That doesn't mean it's good. That means we have relatability. And the thing about it is, just like with actual chemistry, when something is hot, it changes. And when something is cold, it changes, right? So if you just look at chemistry itself, a man is different. In seasons. A man is different in the springtime than he is in the wintertime. Our attitude towards women changes. We may not want to hang out as much. We may want a girlfriend more when it's cold versus when it's hot. Because when it's hot, women are out everywhere. Women wearing sundresses. You know what I'm saying? Women are a little, and it makes us want to, just have more sex and drink and have, go to strip clubs.
Where do you live? Where do you live? I'm curious.
In Atlanta.
Okay. So I'm in Miami. I'm in Miami, and I grew up in New York.
Yeah. So in New York, when it's snowing, you ain't really trying to be out, trying to, get chicks when it's snowing out. You want to just get you one little chick, and that one chick may think, oh my God, Raphael is so awesome. He wants to be with me. No, Raphael just don't feel like tracking in the snow trying to find somebody to have sex with. But in the summertime, Raphael is like out here, right? So when it comes to staying with the chemistry thing, a woman can think you guys have chemistry simply because it's cold outside, or simply because it's hot outside. It's just like a hot I don't know how this works, but if you drop a Mentos in hot Pepsi versus cold Pepsi, I'm sure the Mentos versus the Pepsi is going to explode differently. You know what I'm saying? So that goes with chemistry. People think just because they have chemistry, there's something good. No, it doesn't mean anything. You just have the same things going on in your lives at the same time. A lot of people get in relationships because their present reality is similar.
Right.
But when the season changes, when something changes in their lives, somebody dies or somebody's born or somebody loses a job, their whole chemistry blows up.
So then how do you foresee that, and how do you know that you're making the right decision? So I'm using your analogy, say Bill and Jill start dating and their chemistry seems good, okay, and say they both like each other and they both want a long-term relationship. How can both of them determine whether that's going to be something that works long-term or if this is a seasonal chemistry, so to speak?
Well, one is important for you to know why you like this person and what the similarities are. As an example, say you get Bill and Jill, they get with each other and they, in conversation, say on a third date, they realize that they both have the same type of childhood and it's kind of like traumatic. And you're like, yo, she gets me. I didn't grow up with a mother, or my dad left me, or I dealt with this or whatever. She dealt with the same thing. And we just was able to connect. Here goes these words. The connection was great, but it was built on their both traumatic pasts are the same. Well, the problem is, say Jill decides to get therapy about her stuff, and she's no longer traumatized and she sees differently. And now Bill didn't get therapy. And now she's like, yo, Bill, like, what is your problem? What are you talking about? I've been like this. Well, that's the problem. In my new season of getting therapy, I don't think the way you do no more. Now I realize our only relatability was our traumatic upbringings. And now I see my upbringing as a part of like my growth, and I'm using my traumatic upbringing as my way of doing better. But you still see your traumatic upbringing as a reason why you're not doing better. Therefore, we don't have chemistry, and this is now toxic.
Very good. It's a very good answer. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can have two children born from the same alcoholic mother or father. One says, because my dad's an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic. The other one says, because my dad's an alcoholic, I will go out of my way to make sure I'm not. Yep. So it's all about what you choose to do with that experience. I completely hear you. Now, I do want to.
It all comes from drive, from childhood. See, everything inside of us comes from our perception of who we actually are versus who we used to be from our childhood. So, yeah.
I mean, I grew up with my grandmother. I grew up without parents myself. But, thank God I've worked hard to progress and move up and move forward. So
your mother wasn't around, or?
No, my mom, she passed away a few months ago. I never met her.
Oh, wow.
She was likely on drugs, probably a pretty heavy drinker, but she was homeless for many years.
Yeah.
And my dad was never really in the picture. It was just one of those kind of one and done things. My mom's mom raised me by herself. She was a hell of a woman. She's still alive. She just has dementia now, unfortunately, but we were extremely close up until, the last couple of months where she started to develop that dementia. Otherwise, she was sharp as a tack. I mean, she was awesome to talk to, always fun, always just very young spirited. Yeah. And she had a hard life. So, I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a good childhood. Definitely didn't have money, didn't have a lot of the things other people I knew had. Yeah. But in terms of, I had a good life. Always had friends and everything.
Yeah. So from a chemistry standpoint, do you think if you went out on a date with this beautiful woman and she has somewhat the same type of story, would you see that as like, oh, wow, we got chemistry? You see how it can actually turn into something?
I would love it. Yeah, I would love it. But right off the bat, and I'm glad you brought that up about what she's chosen to do with it. I would definitely be turned on by a girl who grew up that way, so long as she used it for good and became a much stronger version of herself. Yeah. I wouldn't say I'd prefer that because I don't have a large family. It would be nice to get marry into a family that has, where she has some siblings, where she's got both parents.
I'm the same
Just
way.
because, just to kind of even that out, where my kids will have at least some uncles and aunts from her side.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just, we'll have a tiny family. You know what I mean? I mean, we'll have our own kids. You get what I mean? But I'm not, I don't write these things off. But what I do realize is, because I've had to work for since such a young age, I can't date a high maintenance girl. I want to be able to give her things. Don't get me wrong. I want to be able to spoil my woman, but I don't want a woman who expects it. There's a difference in getting a nice bag, or taking my girl out on nice trips where she's appreciative and genuinely, shows her appreciation for it, but doesn't necessarily expect it, versus a girl who goes, "Hey, where's my Fendi bag? It's been 2 months." And it's like, dude, it's like, you get one when you get one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have money, you can go buy one,
I'm not buying no damn Fendi bag. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to do all that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd prefer a girl who doesn't really care about those things. I don't blame someone for liking designer things, but it's just not the way I grew up.
Right.
I do like, don't get me wrong, I like, I like cars. I do want to have a nice house. I do want nice things.
But you don't expect nobody to buy you a car.
Oh, hell no. But
that's the thing. Then again, I can deal with a woman who likes Fendi bags, but I'm not buying you no damn Fendi bag. Go buy it. But yourself.
You know what also, man? Where I kind of maybe disagree is the idea that society doesn't expect women to get us anything. Like, nobody gives a shit about men and their financial issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why there's so many depressed, suicidal men out there. Because we're expected to have our shit together, not bitch or moan about it. And nobody's there to really, no one feels bad for us if we're going through tough shit.
But they don't supposed to, though.
Huh?
They don't supposed to.
I know. I don't complain about this. It's not
women are like 100 pounds. They gain weight, but women are like 100 pounds, and we're like 100 pounds heavier than them on average. You know what I'm saying? So we are supposed to protect them and do all the stuff because we're bigger, we're stronger, and we're actually smarter. A woman is never going to admit that, but women aren't smarter than men. Like, men run the world. It wouldn't make sense if women were smarter than men and women didn't run the world. That would be crazy. So yeah, we're bigger, stronger, smarter. And then, because here's the thing.
A little bit of a caveat though.
And men are more emotional than women.
More emotional?
Yeah, that's why men kill each other every day and commit suicide more than women, because we're more emotional. Women express their emotions, but we're more emotional.
I don't think it's more emotional. I think it's more aggression.
That's an emotion. That's
for sure. I'm sure there's a lot of women who want to kill certain people.
Nobody on the planet is going to ever be able to explain to me, if men kill more of themselves and more children, how are women more emotional than men if we actually are? It's less men on the earth than women because we keep killing each other.
Yeah, I don't think.
How are we less emotional if that's the case?
I think it comes down to the testosterone and what kind of drives us. I think we're more aggressive by nature. I don't think it's of course it is emotion, but I think overall in everyday decision making, men are more kind of straight line. They make this. It's not always a good thing. They make decisions much faster. But I wouldn't say as a whole, I don't feel that women are less. I think women are more emotional for sure. In terms of the killing stuff, I mean, I think that's just a lack of thought. I think women tend to be more calculated.
Emotion. Emotions are emotions. You get scared, that's an emotion. You get aggressive, that's emotions. You feel slighted, that's emotion. Everything is emotional. The testosterone, what we do with this testosterone is emotion. What women do with estrogen, that's emotions. Estrogen isn't emotions, but is what we do with it. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. I've never heard anybody say that men are more emotional than women.
Men are way more emotional than women. If you just look at what we do with our emotions, it's just different. We don't cry, but that doesn't mean we're less emotional. We punch walls. We, you know what I'm saying? We go smash women. We go have sex with a whole bunch of women. Women, what do they do with their emotions? They eat and get fat.
Well, so do a lot of men. But
well, the men who can't get sex eat. But we usually go have sex. But the men who can't go have sex, they'll eat instead because they can't find women. But we have sex to deal with our emotions. Women eat.
Okay. I can understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, men have sex for so many different reasons. For good, for bad. It's just an outlet. It's a way to release tension. It feels good. There's just so many
it's wrapped in emotion, which proves my point.
I mean, you can argue a lot of things are based on emotion. I just feel that, I mean, I feel like this is a science thing.
Because dopamine is a part of our emotions. Oxytocin is a part of women's emotions. So we utilize our emotions by getting more money, buying nicer cars, having sex with better women. That's an emotional thing. Dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, all of those are parts of serotonin. Those are a part of our emotional makeup. Those are the things that they're the actual prize. I'm trying to think. Reward centers. So we get emotional, right? As a man, we don't cry. The reason why is because crying doesn't get us any a reward. A woman that cries, she gets oxytocin. Oh my God, what happened? Next thing you know, she gets hugs, she gets attention, she gets grace, she gets appreciation from other people when she cries. Oxytocin. We don't get that from other people when we cry, therefore we don't do it. But if we go out and sleep with a random woman, our homeboys are like, yo, you smashed that. Yo, you are the man. But we went and had sex with that woman because we were sad. You get what I'm saying? It's the same thing. So that is an example of how men are more emotional, but we don't get oxytocin from crying. We get oxytocin, dopamine, endorphins from having sex or punching a dude in the face. We punch a dude in the face at a bar. Next thing you know, like, yo, that dude. You next thing you know, world star. There's a dude. I can't remember his name. He actually went viral because he beat up a dude. Now he has millions of followers because somebody caught him beating up a dude at a bar. Next thing you know, he has millions of followers, and now he does something totally different. But he got his social media brand from beating up a dude. That is emotions. He got a whole bunch of serotonin, a whole bunch of dopamine from beating up a dude. He was probably depressed. But instead of eating or crying, he punched the dude in the face. So that's emotions.
You know what, though? I think that our emotions cause us to generally do more in terms of action. Like
because we're dopamine driven.
Okay, but that in and of itself, you can call both emotional, but our emotions tend to lead us to take more action. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of lazy ass men that don't do shit.
And they're fat.
I think overall, if we're talking about the hyper successful, hyper ambitious men versus the hyper ambitious and go-getter women, I think are going to have a much higher percentage of men, but just because of our nature, it doesn't, I don't necessarily even see that as better or worse. I think it's just a matter of how we're wired. But then again, there's so many.
Because if you look at
exceptions.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, why the hell are they still out here why don't they sit down somewhere? Because they're emotional. They need more dopamine. They got to make $1 million, or they want to be the smartest. I mean, the richest man in the world fluctuates depending on what day it is.
Right.
You know why? Because all of them are emotional and they're all trying to invent more and do more because they need the dopamine. That's emotional.
Right.
These dudes are freaking emotional. I wouldn't care if I'm going to sit down somewhere on an island. I'm going to go buy me an island and get me a whole bunch of women and go live my life and not make a single thing else.
Oh, okay. So now I know your goals, but are you looking for? Are you looking to get? Were you married?
Yeah, I've been married. Yeah.
Okay. So are you looking to get married again, or you've written that off? You do want
No,
to?
I
Okay.
would love to get married again.
Okay.
Mhm.
Fine, totally understood. I'm 27. I've never been married. I'm a young guy.
Yeah.
So we'll get there. We're working on it.
But if I was a billionaire, I would have a whole bunch of chicks on the island somewhere.
What? That's another conversation. You really don't need
Right.
to be rich to get women. That's another misconception.
Well, an
It'll
island and a
help you.
whole bunch of chicks that live on the island with you,
Yeah,
you would need to be a billionaire. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not talking about that.
An island full of women. Whole society, and you the only dude.
It's crazy, no? Can you imagine? The woman who drives the ferry onto the island, they're cleaning the plants. They're just everyone, yeah.
Women.
It's wild.
And I'm the only dude on the entire freaking island.
No, money will get you that. There's no question.
Yeah.
Like enough money will get you pretty much any of these things. But just wanted to kind of end off with this DaniLeigh and DaBaby thing. It's like I saw your clip that you posted about this, and you said, and what's interesting is both of them are quite frankly stupid. Why? Because first off, don't put that stuff on your Instagram live. Have some self-respect, respect the other person, keep your shit private. That's it's very childish. It's extremely childish to put that public, to make that public.
Right.
Second off, she clearly is very into him, or at least she wants the money, but it does seem like she seems like the kind of girl that's been so mistreated as a child. She looks for men that mistreat her because she likes the
typical
idea,
traumatized woman. Yeah.
she likes the idea that this guy is so famous and so popular, and out of all women, he chose her, even if she's a side chick, supposedly. She feels that he's better than her. He's more famous than her. So even if he treats her badly, the fact that he's giving her attention at all, good or bad, is still attention.
But Raphael, we were women. We were women. We'll feel the same way about DaBaby. Like, it's women love attention.
I'm just saying, dude, that
famous dude is giving you attention. We'll be like, oh my God, we'll be just like her.
I hear you, man. But we can't just excuse that behavior, because at the end of the day, like, you can't complain that all men, she's gonna go around and say, oh, well, men suck. I hate men. It's like, no, you actively
all
chose
rich
the
rappers
guy.
suck.
Huh?
All rich rappers suck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, because listen, at the end of the day, if you're a woman and you want that kind of guy, it comes with the territory. You're gonna have to compete with thousands or millions of other women who are gonna constantly be trying to get after him. They don't give two shits whether you're with him or not. They'll do everything they can to get in the way of your relationship. You're dealing with, you make it very difficult for yourself when you try to date someone like that. But people can't ignore the fame, the popularity, the good looks, the money, all that. He's so high status that any woman that gets that opportunity will ignore all of the negativity that comes with it and just say, fuck it, I hope it works out, And
it goes back to the perception of what, women grow up to see. Like I said, women grow up just hearing the stupid stuff from women. Women don't have any sense when it comes to men. So you grow up not being able, you don't understand men, and then this rich dude picks you. Where are you going to go after DaBaby as a woman? Who are you going to date next? You can't date, you're not going to date somebody better than him, because you don't even deserve to be with somebody that rich and that famous. This is some random stuff. And this is what I'm saying, because of the drive. It goes back to what I said before. You don't have Beyonce type of drive, so you can't do better than DaBaby. This was a fluke.
So you're saying that she's never gonna fully get over him.
Never, because she can't do better than him.
So that's also why he knows that, and that's why he can mistreat her, because he knows that there's no consequence.
See, Beyonce can do better than Jay-Z because of who Beyonce is.
Well, what does better mean?
What
does better mean? Because richer, not too many people have more money than he does.
All of it.
Looks are the only thing.
Beyonce can definitely find a man, a black man or whatever type of man she wants that's richer than Jay-Z, because of
richer.
Who Beyonce.
But I don't think but she doesn't.
I'm saying beyond, because of who Beyonce actually is.
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying, like, from her perspective, the guy's already a billionaire. He's already world famous. The only thing I could argue is she can find maybe a better looking guy, but he doesn't need those looks. He's all around so powerful. You could argue is still a bit higher status than she is.
I don't agree.
Even though they're really both at the peak of their given field. I don't
they
think
both did a concert. Because you understand,
for him, right?
She's like the queen of women, and he's the king of men in a way.
Yeah,
from a
you
rapper.
look at it both ways.
But
who is he
she's
going
to have more women at her concert than men at his concert.
Okay.
Drive. It just goes back to drive. If you have a lot of drive and you get with a man that has a lot of drive, the man isn't going to be so irreplaceable like DaniLeigh sees DaBaby, because she has enough drive in order to get a life for herself. It's not about money. It's about she'll be able to be the best singer or best whatever, the best lawyer, and she'll be able to get a man that is somewhat as comparable as her ex. Because women, like you said, women date up. And when you get with a guy, you feel the need to date a better guy than him. But if you don't have the drive to stay on that status after you break up with a guy, you're not going to get better. And that causes a woman to psychologically feel like she can't leave the guy because he's deemed irreplaceable. Beyonce would not deem Jay-Z as irreplaceable. Jay-Z deems Beyonce as irreplaceable.
That's interesting because Jay-Z is the one who cheated on her, not the other way around. You know what I mean?
But
and
she
Beyonce
was about to
still
divorce him, and he was like, "Please, baby, please." He made a whole album 444 saying like, "There's no way in this world I can imagine losing my wife." She didn't make no. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We do dumb stuff. Dude's gonna cheat. There's no man out here married, not who was born after 1980 that hasn't or isn't cheating on their wives or whatever. It's just not gonna happen.
Every guy?
It's no guy who's been born past 1980 that hasn't cheated on his girlfriend. Oh, just no. Because at the end of the day, he realizes that like, yo, I can't lose this woman, so I'm not gonna cheat anymore. But it's no guy who hasn't cheated.
I think there's a large percentage, but I definitely wouldn't say.
You get married, you're going to cheat on your wife at some point. You're 27.
I will really choose not to believe that. I really, call me naive.
You have no old school in you. There's no old school in you in a 27-year-old in 2021. There's no old school. There's no old school in you.
I hear you, man, but I really like to believe that I can be faithful. I'm just saying, bro, and I'm not sitting here saying I'm some good innocent boy, bro. I've lived my life. I've been around the block.
I got you.
But I definitely, I hope though. I really hope you're wrong, bro. Because I've been faithful in my relationships. They definitely weren't that long.
Yeah.
I never cheated in my relationship. So
that's what
I hope. Yeah, man. As long as a woman can keep up with me, I'm a high libido guy. I need a lot of sex. As long as I'm with a woman who I don't have to sit there and go, "Hey, honey, could we just do it tonight?"
But that's a chemistry thing. What if at some point something changes and you just don't want to have sex that much, and now you got a woman with a high libido, and now because I'm telling you, once you hit like 35 or whatever, you ain't thinking about sex like that. You think about other stuff. It's just not even that serious to you.
Really?
You get this high libido woman.
I'll just take the right stuff, man. I'll take some testosterone. I'll take some shit that's gonna get me more. Because listen, man, I'm 27, and right now forget about it, dude. I mean, as long as I can keep even half of this libido going when I'm 35, I'll be fine.
It's gonna stop.
I'm sure it'll slow down, but like I said, man, they have a lot of stuff you can take to keep that stuff like.
But the thing about it is, when you take stuff, it doesn't make you want it. It just makes you capable of doing it. The wanting it is still like, I don't care about that.
Doesn't make you want it more?
No, it just makes you prepared to do it. It just makes you more prepared. You're just like this.
Right.
It doesn't make you like, ooh, I want to have sex. No, you're like, ooh, I want to have sex, but this ain't working.
Yeah, but you think at 35 your desire for sex decreases?
Yeah. especially if you have a kid. Especially if you have a kid. If you have a kid and you're over 30, it's a wrap.
Because
Listen,
I'll worry about it. I'll worry about it when the time comes.
Chemically, we talk about chemistry. Chemically, you start making less testosterone once you make a child. If you're around a child a lot, you're gonna get fatter. You're gonna want sex less. You're less virile. You're less virile because now your brain sees a child. Now is more like time to be daddy, not to be this.
You know, man, I what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and I'm just hoping I stay this crazy rabbit for as long as possible. You know what I mean? We'll see. Listen, man, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Unless you don't have kids, it's gonna slow down. So just keep in mind the chemistry can change, and that's a part of it, the libido. But yeah, this was a dope conversation.
It sure was, man. Yeah, man. I mean, relationships nowadays are very interesting. And we because we live in such a different world than we did a couple of years ago, with how everything's shifting, where I feel like so many men are becoming so weak and women are becoming, it's kind of like the rules are switching in a way.
Yep.
I think that's where people are really becoming confused.
Because women are slowly, see, what's happening is women have never been able to take over the world because, like I said, men are smarter than women. But more of the LGBT community are now acting like women. So now they're siding with women. So now they're looking so now you have more men that are on the side of women that want women to take over. Does that make sense?
Right.
So now the men that are siding with women are slowly becoming more powerful, where they're trying to change the scale where women are more powerful than men. And that goes along with the whole DaBaby situation. One of the things that got him canceled is that. And then the thing that got him uncanceled is the same thing. They actually, Rolling Loud literally told him, like, you know what? You can go and tour again as long as you have us as a sponsor. So the same group that canceled him is now sponsoring him. So now every time he does something out in the world, like a big festival, Rolling Loud gets a piece of what he makes.
Interesting.
Because it's sponsored by Rolling Loud. He can be over here, it's still sponsored by Rolling Loud. And that came from the LGBTQ community. That's the power, because now more men are siding with women. That's why the roles are reversing.
I don't even like looking at it as taking sides. I just ultimately think
roles.
Yeah, I just think that we're trying too hard to be like each other. I think it's more women trying to be like men, because
women being like men. We aren't trying to be like
they
women.
haven't had that power up until now. So
yes,
it's like I'm not saying that women shouldn't have the ability to do whatever they want to do. It's just, if your goal is to try to show men that you can do anything they can do, you are now not a woman. Feminine, you lose a lot of what makes women special. Men like femininity, and do all men like femininity? Are there some men who like to be
all men like femininity? Sure,
there's always an anomaly, there's always an exception, but a lot of women seem to argue this, or they don't like to hear this, and it's like the old school way. And when I say old school way, it doesn't mean that women should be in this little square in the kitchen and cook all day. They can go and do whatever they want, but in terms of their ultimate, their all around demeanor and personality, men, we want peace. I mean, this is just stuff people talk about all the time.
And women are here to disrupt the peace.
There's a thing in I'm forgetting which verse it is.
See, for a woman to be in control, a man has to be off his kilter.
Right.
So that's why women don't give men peace, because if men were happy and they had their peace, there would be he would be in control. Because sadly, because of where we are as a community, women want men to suffer for being men. So, which means don't give him peace, because if a man is happy, usually the woman isn't going to be in power. The woman is going to be by his side or behind.
You ever watch Patrice? You ever heard of Patrice O'Neal?
Some of it. I didn't really
man. I mean, he's like he's a little over the top, he's even a little over the top from things he said.
Yeah.
But I mean, he says some really raw, truthful shit, man.
Yeah, I've heard some of his stuff.
He's passed, but I mean, listen, man, quite frankly, I agree with things he talks about. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. There are things that people disagree with me on for sure. I ultimately think the majority of women like to be led. The majority of men like to lead. The question is, does the woman allow the man to lead her? And is the man actually capable of leading? I think that's really what it comes down to.
Agree.
So long as the woman wants the man to lead and the man is capable of leading, that usually will lead to a very happy relationship. So long as the man is actually in a position of leadership where he's able to, listen to her, take care of her, actually care about what she has to say, and
consider her needs.
And not just that, stubborn tyrant kind of guy, but he's really there for her, and he's taking care of he's doing the disciplinary work, he's making the money, he's doing what he should be doing as a man. He's bringing home the cheddar. He's making sure that his family feels safe, they feel secure, both physically, mentally, financially. So long as he's doing all that, obviously things will come up. There's no perfect marriage, but that marriage will be far better off than I think most of them. And that's what I think.
But the problem is, women want to feel more important, and that's the problem. They want to feel more important than men perceive them as being. And that never stops. They want to be more and more and more and more and more and more.
The problem is, though, the problem with that is that men generally don't really care how much money a woman makes or how ambitious a woman is. Most men don't.
We don't care about the woman's importance, is what I'm saying. So the more we don't care, the more they want to show how important they are. And now they turn into little men.
The problem also is that when the more successful, the more ambitious they are, the smaller the pool of men will be for them to potentially marry, because of hypergamy. Most women, even women who are making 200,000, will prefer a guy who's making 400. A woman making 400 will prefer a guy who's making $1 million. Generally speaking, not always. I mean, women will listen.
But a guy making $1 million,
talking about, I don't care if
would prefer a woman making 40,000 though.
Say again?
And I said the man making $1 million would prefer the woman making 40,000 and not 200,000, because she's busier and he wants her to be more available to him.
100, and she's also likely to be more. If a woman is very successful financially, that usually means she has more of a masculine energy. She's more competitive. She's more aggressive. She's more go-getting. That's not what we tend to look for ideally in a woman.
And that is the need to be important. The more a woman feels the need to be important to the world, not to him, the less important she actually is.
Yeah, no, I honor it. If a woman wants to go after it and become a multimillionaire, kudos to you. Just understand that
you're going to be less important.
What you decide to do is going to have a consequence, and and people will take this wrong and say, to be honest, if they take it wrong, they take it wrong. What can I do?
Who cares?
Yeah. The reality is, if you decide to become a hyper successful woman, it unfortunately means that the men who your potential dating partners will become a lot fewer, and it's much harder to find a long-term relationship.
Exactly.
Women who tend to be more in their feminine energy, they may have a career, they may be a nurse, a speech pathologist, whatever it is, but their primary desire is to raise a family. That comes off as more feminine. They're generally more agreeable. They generally want to be led. They just have more of a natural feminine nature to them. That's what men tend to want most of the time. So women can argue this and call me a misogynist and say whatever they want, but the facts speak for themselves. You see across the board, the more successful a man is, the less he cares about how much money a woman makes, because he doesn't need that part is not important. He knows he can provide for the family. He knows he can lead the family. So I do like a girl that has hobbies, meaning I don't need a girl who owns her own business. It's
Right.
cool. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll respect it. I care more that a woman has a passion. Say she
Mm-hmm.
works in an animal shelter, or she, whatever it is, there's something
Yeah.
that she wakes up in the morning and has a passion for that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily make money, but I see that she loves doing it. I
Right.
want to be with someone like that because that's going to be the kind of woman that wants to support me. So we can help support each other because we
Yeah.
both have we're fired up to wake up in the morning. So that's what is a lot more important to me than, let's say,
I agree.
just trying to grow some big business and be a boss babe.
Yep.
So I'm glad.
Yeah,
we
man,
agree
this
on
was
that.
dope.
Yeah, man, it sure was.
I
had a great
appreciate you
time.
having me on.
Dude, my pleasure. Thanks for coming on, Aaron. I appreciate it. So guys, I'm gonna drop all of your socials, brother. It's gonna pop up on the screen so everyone can see. Instagram. What are some of the platforms you have other than Instagram?
All right. Instagram is @Mr. Let Go. YouTube is Mr. Let Go, and TikTok is @Mr. Let Go. TikTok is crazy. If you're not on TikTok, make sure to be on there. They ain't just dancing. They talk about some real life stuff, and I actually love how TikTok has changed the game or whatever. But yeah, people really are talking about relationship stuff on TikTok and not just dancing. So yeah, so TikTok, I love TikTok too. I just really got on there like 6 months ago, but it's amazing.
I gotta put my videos on there, man, because it's also a lot easier to get a following on TikTok. Like your
TikTok is crazy.
So I gotta start posting my content on TikTok.
Oh, and Clubhouse. Are you on Clubhouse?
I'm on Clubhouse, but not for the podcast.
Okay, but yeah, I'm on Clubhouse also. @Mr. Let Go.
Okay,
yeah.
So we'll have to do that. But thanks for coming on, man. We had a lot of insightful conversation. It seems like we definitely see eye to eye in terms of all this. I just, in general, men need to become the best version of themselves. We're in more of a competitive world than ever before. Women have dating options from anywhere in the world. There are men who are sending them DMs wanting to fly them out to Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, you're a fat dude making 40K a year and you're wondering why no women want to date you, because you're not in anywhere close to the competition. And the more you work on yourself, the more you can bring to the table, the easier it'll be to either whatever you're looking to do, whether it's casual or you're looking to date long term.
Right.
You're going to have to work at it less. Your actions will speak for themselves. So less simping, more working, and stop paying for OnlyFans, and you'll find that life will become a lot more fruitful and enjoyable. That's really what I've come to understand.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Thanks again, brother. Pleasure having you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. We'll be in touch.
All right.